Well, Dave, welcome to Pittsburgh and the Manchester Craftsmen's Guild. That
Thanks,
first
John.
medley.
Pleasure to be here.
That medley was certainly appropriate for what's happening outside. We got a nasty, snowy November day. Last night we lucked out a little bit. We went to an historic event here. The last time the Cleveland Browns played the Pittsburgh Steelers. You were there, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
You're-
Do you think, though, that is it really that definite? Is there a chance that some political action will keep the Browns in Cleveland? I don't know.
It doesn't look like it. Maybe if somebody plays this interview in 20 years, they'll say, I didn't know Cleveland had a football team.
I was thinking of that.
You're a sports fan, though, I can tell, aren't you?
Oh, yeah,
You're
definitely.
are you from where? New England, Boston?
Well, my mother's from Boston. I'm from a little town, Woonsocket, Rhode Island, a factory town. The really, disaster area. All the labor went south after World War II, you know.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good town to grow up, though. Hey, there's one Hall of Famer, Napoleon Lajoie, who played in Cleveland. Some people say the greatest second baseman of all time. He's from Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Played with the
Clem
Red Sox.
Labine or Labine, I don't know how they say it, in Brooklyn. He was a great reliever.
Yeah.
And Gabby Hartnett from Millville, which is right outside the great Chicago Cubs. A lot of ball players came from Woonsocket.
Ah. You certainly know your sports, too. Are you a baseball or football
Yeah, I
fan?
was really a baseball fan, but I'm a fan of hitting and fielding, not pitching. And the game got so slow, I'm kind of just. But I do hold weekend season tickets at Fenway Park, and sometimes I have to give the tickets away. But the game still is a habit I can't kick. You know what I
Well.
mean? But I like football is more urgent. There's only one game a week. You know, when you lose, you have to mope about it all week. You know.
Well, and talk about losing. How about the Patriots right now? Not too good.
I thought they were overrated anyway. Couldn't run the ball at all. Even last year, they had Bledsoe throwing all the time. But this Steeler team is sound, I think. It basically is a sound football team.
Yeah, I think so. They're starting to respect their quarterback a little bit more, O'Donnell. I think we're going to be all right for a few years anyway.
Cut for a second, fellas.
We don't really have to talk about music, do we? We can
No,
we can
I'd
just
rather
keep-
talk about like this sports and business, how bad it is.
Absolutely. No, I think that's great, man.
We doing? How we doing?
You're killing me.
Yeah, all right.
That was fabulous.
He says we're killing. Yeah, well, you can't beat that medley. Then.
Can we slow the pace down just a little bit?
Sure.
Not much, just a little bit. Make it just a taste less frenetic. And Greg, I know I could talk to you on the headphones, but this is much more personal.
I'll talk about
I
it.
think I'm gonna see what you can get from another position. Okay?
Okay.
So why don't you come over, let's see, where do I want you? See if you can dolly with the cabling that you've got, see if you can dolly over to the end of the piano.
This end or the
Yeah,
other?
that the end you just pointed to.
From here. Just
John, if you ask me to play a
Yeah.
ballad, I think I'll play Down That Dream.
Great.
I love the tune.
Great. Okay.
now,
I had that in mind, and
And
All
you gotta
the-
come around, basically, you're
and
gonna
then just like
create a
gradually
camera one.
pick up the tempo.
Medium
where,
thing.
which that
Like Talk of the Town, is that any good? Or something in
Actually,
that
wanna come around
small
the front then?
hotel, something in that
Fine.
vein? Just like a
I
little...
could play.
Roll these
I could
cables, all
play a
right?
chorus of Girl Talk and then Talk of the Town.
Yeah, all right.
Actually, I can't.
All right,
now. Just,
I'll say,
okay.
how about Talk of the Town? You say,
I can go
well,
around the
what
other
about
way.
I'll do
Why don't I go
Girl
around the other
Talk
way, in
and,
front?
Talk of the Town. Then we'll do that.
I'll just do Talk of the Town, that's fine.
No, I love it. Do it. No, it's not like you're
Remember a tune
contradicting.
called Talk to Me?
No.
Sinatra did, it was nice.
Huh. And that medley might be a good finish. Don't worry about it being too long.
Okay, rolling.
Dave, I think you and I are probably about the same age, so let's talk a little bit about your growing up in Woonsocket and learning about music, learning to love it, learning to play the piano. What did you listen to, and who did you listen to?
Well, you know, as far as I remember, my mother played violin and piano. She was a very good musician. My father was a drummer in military-type bands. He was a postman, you know, a parcel postman. But I think my mother said I went to the piano and do, you know, one finger and a jingle I heard on the radio and picked it out, you know. And then I think for a short time, any tune I heard on the radio,
There's something, is there someone backstage?
Dave was in
I'm getting
the,
tables.
he's out.
Oh, that's a drag.
Yeah, well,
Want to get
I could
that?
shorten that up anyway.
No, it's,
He's getting someone in the back room. He's down. Okay, you want to stand by?
is that all wiped out? Should we start again?
How far back you want to go? Start again?
We can start.
Jay?
Yeah, start again. Yeah.
Okay.
You ready? Stand by. Roll. Rolling.
Well, Dave, I think you and I are about the same age, so I'd like to know what it was like to grow up in Woonsocket in the 30s and 40s, and how you got to like music and how you started to play. What were you listening to? Who you were listening to?
Well, my mother said that I went to the piano and picked out a jingle of the day on them. My mother played good piano, and she was a concert-type violinist, you know, and my father played drums in the local, snare drums, like in
Yeah.
a John Philip Sousa type thing. I think I liked cowboy music at first, too, and any song I heard on the radio. But my mother didn't think she was a good enough teacher, so she sent me to the nuns. I went to a parochial school, and I hated the music they gave me, and I couldn't, to this day, I'm not a good sight reader. So I just continued like playing the songs I heard on the radio, and that's about the extent of it. I never really got much farther with education. I never had any harmony or theory or anything.
You wouldn't know it from those beautiful harmonies that you play, but so you really learned by listening, didn't you?
Yeah.
Who were some of the piano players that you listened to?
Well, I liked all the piano players that I heard, but I liked horn players better. I liked listening to Benny Goodman and Artie Shaw on the clarinet, and then later Prez, of course, Count Basie on the piano, of course. And I got to like trumpet players. At first, I didn't even know the names of them, you know, like Roy Eldridge and guys like Billy Butterfield and Hackett, when I heard Hackett. And then later I got into listening to Dizzy and Bird.
Mhm.
But I never forgot people like Buck Clayton, the way I loved his playing. And then later, after getting with Hackett, Hackett got me interested in going back to hear Louis, and I agree. I mean, I think it all comes from Louis, I really do.
Mhm.
I think he's the very prototype, the king, the real king.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you listen to some of those old things in the 20s, what was the name of that band? I don't know, Louis and the, I don't even know what they call them, people like Baby Dodge and Johnny Dodge.
Oh, that was King Oliver's, I think.
Well,
Creole
that was
jazz
before,
band.
this was Louis with those guys,
And
and they
The
were
Hot
good at
Foot.
what they did for the day, you know, but it sounds so dated, it sounds like Looney Tunes sometimes. But when Louis comes on, that music will endure. I mean, because what he played is as good tomorrow as it was then. You know?
Yeah.
It was so great to the point. It had a very spirited, good humor about it, but there's something regal about it, like that, you know,
Yeah.
majestic about his playing. I dig it.
Mhm. I think I agree that Louis was head and shoulders above his contemporaries, but there was one fellow from Pittsburgh that he hooked up with, I thought was on a par, and that was Earl Hines.
Oh, yeah.
And you talked about being influenced by horn players, and that certainly shows up in your playing, because I would call your style of playing very instrumental as opposed to pianistic like an Art Tatum. And that's only not derogatory, it applies
No,
to
I
a lot
know.
of piano players that are instrumentally oriented. But that concept of pianists doing that goes all the way back to Earl Hines.
They call him trumpet on the keyboard, did they?
Right, trumpet style. And then they said he was trying to play lines on the piano like Louis was playing on the trumpet. And I think you kind of do the same thing.
You know, I never knew much about Earl. I got to know him a little bit later. I didn't know about his work and all that, but they tell me Nat Cole came directly from him, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
But Nat was my favorite. When you ask about piano players, like I say, I listen to horn players just as much. When I listen to Benny Goodman, sextet or something, I listen more to Benny than I would to Teddy. But yet I love Teddy, always did. And speaking of that kind of piano, somebody played me the other day these records Ruby Braff made with Mel Powell
Yeah.
and Bobby Donaldson. Aren't those things beautiful?
Yeah.
Jeez, what a feeling they got.
Mhm.
Mel was a wonderful piano player, too.
Yes, he was. I think the first time I heard you was with Bobby Hackett in New York. When was that? Maybe 1950 or something like that, or
50,
earlier?
late 50s.
Late 50s.
I didn't go with him till about 1958.
Of course, Bobby's a Dixieland player, but he had a great ear, a great harmonic sense.
Oh, yeah.
Probably why you two got along so well.
Those guys didn't call it that. I got to know them at Cuddy Kutcher. They didn't call it Dixieland. Hackett sarcastically, not so sarcastically, he called it Whiskeyland music. But they preferred to call it a jazz band. And then other people, the more modern people say, well, we don't call that jazz. I don't know. It's related. All the music is related, you know.
Right.
So these brands, brand names or whatever,
Yeah,
is not important, I don't think.
not really. And I think Bobby Hackett could probably fit in pretty well with most styles of
Yeah, I think so.
players, and you certainly do. I see. Well, now the next time I heard you was quite a different setting. You were with bebop players then, Al Cohen and Zoot Sims, right?
Oh, yeah. I did quite a few gigs with them.
Yeah, two of the Lester Young type players, but great players.
Yeah.
Then I see you hooked up a lot in festivals and on TV with what I would, well, here I go with the name again, but.
Yeah, you got it for point of reference, I guess you got to. You know?
I think it's more of their age than anything, but swing era musicians.
Yeah,
people
that's
from
maybe
the
what I
40s.
feel most comfortable with. You know?
You do?
Yeah.
Can we stop a minute?
Go.
If you get tired talking.
Okay, rolling.
Dave, I'd like to pursue that comment you made earlier about listening to a lot of horn players. You know, when you think about it, all of the major jazz stylists were horn players. Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane. So if the pianists don't listen to those people, I don't think they're really going to be in the mainstream. But I think that you translate these lines of the horn players better than most pianists. When you think about what the horn players can do is sustain a tone, but the piano can't sustain a tone more than a couple of seconds. It starts to deteriorate. And then what happens is pianists, I think, get nervous and start filling in with a lot of arpeggios and extraneous notes.
We all do that. I try to
Well,
limit it, though. I mean, try to keep it.
Well, you do a beautiful job of that, because I notice that when you start those lines going, even in a medium or slow tempo, you don't get cluttered up. I heard you play a tune once called "Talk of the Town," and I think that would illustrate what I'm talking about. Would you play a couple of choruses for us?
Sure.